getting started. So, as you guys know, outlined on Sunday, we had this 4 hour we had a monthly cycle sequential SMT, and then I said this should cause price to go higher, which is exactly what we got. But shortly after that SMT formed, we had a TPD confirming it. So, a monthly cycle sequential SMT with a 4 hour TPD, and this change in the state of delivery means that there will be an SMT skip, or there should be an SMT skip. Now, typically, and I made a post about this in the forums, whenever the TPD confirming a monthly cycle is in the first half of the day, and that CSD is already there, then you can expect the SMT skip to occur within the same day. Now, the reason why in most cases it will happen the following day is because that 4 hour TPD usually falls within the second half of the day. But if it falls within the first half of the day, as you guys can see right here, that is whenever you will look for that SMT skip within the same day or same lower time frame quarter. Now, looking at this TPD right here, we can see the Dow is the weakest. So if we zoom in a little bit, we can see comparing, this would be candle 1, this would be candle 3. We can see there is a divergence with the Dow being the weakest for upside movement, while the Nasdaq and the S&P are stronger, and Nasdaq being the absolute strongest. And you can see it formed a 4 hour fair value gap, while the S&P made a tiny little gap, still got retraced into and then priced higher, but the Nasdaq was the strongest, and what tipped its hand giving that information was this 4 hour fair value gap. If you look, you can see the difference in them. The Nasdaq has a lot bigger fair value gap, while the S&P is just a really tiny one. So knowing that information, now we're looking at the S&P on the left and the Dow on the right. So within that 4 hour TPD, we had an order block, a real order block. At 10 o'clock, price traded back inside of that order block. Now, why 10 o'clock? Because 10 o'clock is the time that the news released. Remember, you look for setups either a little bit before or a little bit after news or exactly during news. And it's most frequent during news or a little bit after. So the news released, price traded into an order block, while the Dow created that daily sequential SMT that you guys already know about. And the Nasdaq, if you go look, the reason why I didn't trade into this order block right here is because there was that gap that it repriced into. But the S&P traded into this. So if you have a 4 hour TPD, whichever asset is stronger, and which one you anticipate to create the failure swing, that is the one that you expect to trade back inside of the order block. And you can see to the tick precision. So this is how you get those wick entries that are to the tick. Now, why did the Dow take the low? How could you have seen this before it happened? Remember, which one was the weakest? Whichever one is the weakest for the side you're looking to trade, that is the one that will create the sequential SMT you're looking for, while the other asset or assets trade into this lower time frame order block. So now we're looking at what happened today. As you guys can see, again, we had a 4 hour TPD form once again. So the S&P had, with the close of candle 1 and the open of candle 3, the open of candle 3 was higher than the close of candle 1 for the S&P, but it was opposite for the Nasdaq, and then the Dow, this open was higher than this close. So this was a TPD which could have given you insight that a Kraken correlation or SMT is about to take place. And it's specific to the 2 a.m. TPD. This is the highest probability one. And again, the Dow, we would expect that to be the one that creates the Kraken correlation because it formed another one back to back. And what is this? A doubled TPD, as you guys already know. And it repeats, it happens again. You're seeing it now. So since this candle was down closed and we have another Kraken correlation form at 10 a.m., which is whenever news released, if you follow along with my cursor, you could have anticipated the Dow to run out the 2 a.m. TPD low while the other two create that failure swing. So within that 4-hour TPD, once again, there was an order block. What time did it reprice into this order block at? 10 a.m. So again, 4-hour TPD, 1-hour order block. The asset that is the weakest in the direction you're trading is likely the one to create the sequential SMT, created the sequential SMT on the daily cycle, below the true open at news. And also I'll give you guys insight on this as well. You can use the wick under certain circumstances. Like if it trades way, way, way higher above it, you can use the wick because sometimes it's not going to fully retrace into the body. If you want a more precise entry, you can use purely the opening of the down close candle or the up close candle, whichever direction you're trading. If you're bullish, it would be the down close candle as you see right here. If you're bearish, it would be an up close candle, but you are also permitted to use the wick. So now going into the 15-minute time frame, this was that hourly order block right here. Price traded down, creating a failure swing. Why did the Nasdaq and the S&P create the failure swing? Because the Dow is the one that is substantially weaker and the Nasdaq and the S&P are stronger. How did we get that information? From the TPD. This TPD in specific, but also this one right here. And on that Kraken correlation with the daily cycle, what formed again? Another TPD. After the Kraken correlation took place, after news released. On top of that higher time frame key level, which would be the order block derived from the 4-hour, going to the 1-hour, going to the 15-minute. And now within that TPD, price trades higher. What's there again? That same order block, going from the 15-minute TPD, looking to a 5-minute order block. Price trades higher, trades back into it. Now what is significant about the opening price? It's directly in confluence within a fair value gap. If you have a fair value gap in confluence with an order block, that is extremely, extremely high probability. With a TPD backing it up, with a higher time frame sequential SMT backing it up, extreme high probability. And now, looking into this small area where price traded down and then traded higher, giving the true run. Looking at this right here, I believe in the Dow it's a little bit more clear, but this is still a TPD right here. Within this TPD right here, forming on this order block, derived from the 15-minute TPD, another TPD formed on top of it, going now to a 1-minute chart, price traded higher, candle 3 opens up, trades into the order block, and that is what begins the run. And yes, we will be going deeper into this, But now you can see it because I've released this. I've talked about this in the past, but I never really went in depth, this in depth. But now you can see it. I can take you all the way from a 4-hour chart down to a 1-minute chart using this. And this is weird. We're just scratching the surface. We're not even. I think I said too much already with this one, but we're still just scratching the surface. It goes deeper than this. And you see the precision with it. You see it working now. You know it exists now. You can go back into your charts. You can go look at all the times the TPD formed and look for the same phenomenon. And it will be there. And it will continue being there. And within one of them, there will be another one. Within that one, there will be another one. Within that one, there will be another one. So why do I tell you to work in the parameters of a higher time frame and a lower time frame that are directly correlated to each other? Or two cycles that are directly correlated to each other with a time frame that you use for narrative? Because of this. That narrative time frame tells you the direction. This is how you this is how you utilize it. Do you consider it a true order block? Yes. This is the real order block. And you can go back in and see it works. But anyways, if you use this correctly, you will rarely lose. Especially if there's a new week opening gap in confluence with it as well. It's crazy. But as you guys know, these highs up here. Now, since tomorrow is Thursday, and we've already been trading higher and higher and higher, we could either see tomorrow just explosively, or tomorrow and Friday just explosively expand higher, clearing out these highs, or tomorrow we will see some form of retracement. So right now we're in that kind of gray area price, and the reason being is because this range that we created, since we've now gone way above the 50% mark and we're kind of trading in premium, whenever price gets into this area, which I like to call the gray area, price will either retrace and then kind of stay stagnant and then expand, or it will just continue higher and then clear out the highs. So coming into tomorrow and Friday, if you're a little bit newer, I would just avoid it altogether. But if there's a bearish daily SMT that forms between the London session and the New York session, then you know it's likely to be a retracement to come trade back into these gaps right here. But if price trades higher, consolidates, and then forms another SMT, you could expect price to continue higher. So it's just an if-then scenario. If price is showing a bullish tendency, or a bearish tendency, or a bearish characteristic, you would look for it to fall back within the range. If it just trades higher and higher and higher, then don't try to fight it. You just need to wait for price to tip its hand. And now we can do some Q&A. Could you talk about stop loss placement? We will get into that. What if the setup was 8:30 news instead of 10 a.m. news and there is a 2 a.m. 4-hour TPD? Would you still expect price to trade into the 1-hour order block within the 4-hour TPD? Yes, during that 6 a.m. candle. It's all dependent on whenever that news releases. Seeing the Dow in the 1 hour swept the true order block low, but never closed below the consequent encouragement of it, add some confluence. How would you look at the 7 a.m. 1 hour TPD this morning on indices. I believe you're talking about the one that formed with the Dow. Even this right here. Remember, TPDs, if you have narrative behind them, tells you whenever a cracking correlation is going to form. And if you would have followed the narrative, then this within and of itself is an SMT. Do you catch the wick when price is coming down or when price is going up in this case? If you're more advanced, which you guys, I'm just introducing this to you guys, but you can, this is how you get those wick entries. Remember, buy below, sell above, power 3, and the basic TPD series. If you add a key level within it, and your order is at that key level, and it follows in tune with the buy below or sell above, this is how you get those wick entries on that candle. Is day 2025 group getting this sauce too? No. With what I'm teaching you guys, nobody else knows about this. You guys are way advanced now, even in 1 month. Not even day. I've talked to him about it. He has some things. Can we get any trade recaps? Once you guys have been with the concepts for a little bit longer. Because now it'll make sense. Can you use this drop down in time frame with a TPD for, let's say, a 15-minute TPD to a 5-minute to a 1-minute, and it's still high probability? Yes, as long as the confluences are there and you're in tune with the narrative. But you don't necessarily need to do that unless it's within your parameters. Remember, you want to stick to the basics. And this is why I brought this out first. You have your narrative time frame, which tells you either, okay, am I bullish or am I bearish? And then you have your higher time frame and your lower time frame. So you have your narrative time frame, like I said, tells you what direction, and then you're waiting for your higher time frame to tip its hand, and you're waiting for the lower time frame to confirm that. So you don't need to go from time frame to time frame to time frame to time frame. You don't need to do that. You can just stick within a circle of time frames that you choose, depending on your personality. Usually how far TPD can be drilled from the higher time frame to the lower time frame is the day special due to the Q3 of Q3, hence it went from the 4-hour TPD to the 1-minute order block. You're on you're on the right track. But you don't need to do that. Like I said, you can just stick within this parameter right here, and this is everything that you need. Yes, day has day has things even I don't. He's a madman. Can you talk about true reversals? True reversals are a byproduct of your narrative time frame, which is the time frame above what you consider the higher time frame, and whenever an SMT forms on your narrative time frame, then you're either looking for your higher time frame or lower time frame to confirm that. If your higher time frame confirms it, it would be a sequential cycle SMT. If your lower time frame confirms it, then it would be an SMT skip. And that is what happened this week. Because we formed that monthly SMT, and then we had a 4-hour TPD, and then a daily cycle SMT. And as you can see, we've been bullish all week long. Model on TPD to order block. Do we always get the strategy aligned? TPD and then order block? Yes, the TPD comes first. And then whichever asset is the weakest in the direction you're trading. For example, this week, we've been wanting to be bullish. The asset that created the SMTs on the lower time frame was the Dow, and Dow tipped its hand, showing that it was the weakest, so it was the one that created those lower time frame SMTs, while the other two assets, whenever they made failure swings, they were making failure swings inside of true order blocks. Are we going to learn how to read narrative more in depth? Yes. And the main thing, the biggest benefit you're getting is by watching me and telling me, or not telling me, sorry, telling you where I believe, okay, the market's likely to draw here. Okay, the market's likely to do this. Okay, focus on this high. Okay, look at this imbalance. Okay, use this range. I'm lending you my experience, and as you can see from the past month, even in 1 month, so many of you have gained such a better perspective on price delivery. So by watching me do it, and by me lending you my experience, that's where your biggest growth will come from. What's your minimum RR for any trade? 1 to 3 is the most stable. Was this a fractal breakdown, or was this fractal breakdown an intro to the reversal model? Yes. Can you draw a schematic for the true reversals? It's in TPD part 3. Can you explain what Day mentioned today to use the 1 hour time frame to check the daily cycle, and why use the 1 hour and not the standard 15-minute? I don't know what he's talking about, but I believe it was to show that precision candle that was there. But I think I'll answer this last one. There was a weekly cycle SMT yesterday close. What invalidated that? Is it because monthly cycle SMT, TPD, daily cycle SMT weighted more than the weekly cycle SMT? Yes, so are you talking about this right here? I believe this is what he's talking about. Are you talking about this SMT? And why price didn't respect that? So if you would have watched the review from last night, some of you might know this, but what did I say about this SMT? No. Well, yes and no. I said I don't consider this a valid SMT. And yes, it would act as SMT, market structure shift. So this wasn't sequential. This was between the open of Asia and sometime in, I believe it was the New York AM session. So it wasn't sequential whatsoever. And also we have a monthly SMT down here, confirmed being a true reversal. So this is not going to outweigh what was down here. And what did it offer? Retracement. And what have I told you guys in the past? Whenever I see an SMT that opposes what I'm looking for on the higher time frame, if anything, I like to see it act as a retracement, and it gives me more confluence for our higher time frame direction. But hopefully you guys found this one insightful. This was a crazy one. I might have spoke about too much on here. So hopefully none of you get confused. But more clarity will be offered this month. So I will speak with you all again Friday night. Good luck and good trading.